Hello, my name is Oleg Gurov. I will present the concept of agro-industrial cyborg, or in other words, an agro-cyborg. In recent decades, the concept of cyborg has been actively used in scientific and cultural discourse. Let me recall that cyborgization is the process of merging corporeality with the technological, combining the natural with the artificial. This is the convergence of the human with the technology, which result possesses a new nature, where the unity of consciousness or soul or spirit with the body is complemented by technology. So I will try to conceptualize the agro-cyborg phenomenon as a promising model of a participant in the agro-industrial complex. This figure will combine the humanitarian values of a traditional peasant with technological capabilities. Such synergy allows minimizing the risks of loss of humanity when introducing technologies into public life, and at the same time adequately responding to the challenges facing humanity. The reasons and motivation for cyborgization can be different. Compensation of shortcomings, damage, overcoming the insolvency and dysfunctions of the body on the one hand, or striving for improvement, overcoming limits, expanding opportunities on another. Turning to the origins of the concept of cyborg, we remember that this invention of clients and client owes to the research of the necessity of the necessary conditions for human during long-term space flights, and what physical and intellectual abilities a researcher and conqueror of space should have. Scientists describing this concept focused on the fact that space exploration is primarily a spiritual challenge, and biological evolution is a condition for human improvement in a high-stake game. This not usual angle of view is not really new, actually. In fact, this is an eternal dispute between the humanities and technocrats. It is a question and spirit of city and the rural area. And today, this conflict opens up new dimensions for the development of human civilization. These binary positions lead not only to irreconcilable conflicts and contradictions, but also create conditions for a previously unthinkable diffusion of concepts and practices, which were previously used and had significance for individual types of activity that didn't intersect. Cyborgization processes affect various areas, which for convenience we will bring into two generalized groups: biological, in terms of replacing or supplementing human functions or organs with prostheses, implants, exoskeletons, navigators, and intellectual group, in terms of replacing or supplementing human intellectual abilities with smart machines. Note that a number of researchers are extremely negative about such prospects. For example, Baudrillard wrote that a person recognizes his powerlessness and incompetence by inventing complex mechanisms. He says that to entrust your intellect to a machine means to free yourself from any claim to knowledge. Other scientists consider cyborgization as disability and self-adaptation of physical bodies in the process of human technological expansion. In this sense, we are more optimistic. We're of the opinion, which may sound somewhat speculative, that cyborgization began with the first tool of labor. The use of the most primitive tool in order to influence the world around us had an impact not so much on the strength and dexterity of human hands, but on the very thinking of a person and on his ability to interact with the outside world in a different quality. And the very first tool of labor, a drummer or a chopper, was mainly used for gathering, which was later transformed into agriculture. Today's demand for human in the framework of the fourth industrial revolution, the revolution of robots, is to put on neutral in the transformation of humans into technogenic hybrid. This requirement is driven by the need to effectively integrate into the infosphere and interact with the advanced technologies that increasingly define the production, economic, and everyday landscape. In 2015, the UN identified 17 SDGs, formulating the main directions of work and development, which in a broad sense should be aimed at solving the critical problems of the civilization: the elimination of poverty, the preservation of the Earth's resources, and the achievement of prosperity. The values of the technogenic civilization, such as perception of nature as an exclusively object of transforming human activity, and consumerist morality, have demonstrated its full inconsistency. In a globalized world, most of the SDGs, one way or another, are related to the need to improve the efficiency, development, and support of the agro-industrial complex. For example, zero hunger, no comment to add. Poverty eradication. Poverty is clear that, it's clear that it manifests itself in many ways in hunger and malnutrition. Good health and well-being, and this is largely due to a healthy lifestyle, of which nutrition is an important part. Clean water and sanitation. Poor water quality is a food security risk, and drought exacerbates hunger and malnutrition. Responsible consumption and production. It's clear that inefficient harvesting and transformation and transportation turns produced food into wastes. Combating climate change. Food and water shortages are largely due to this problem. And here, not only space technologies can be used, but also the same view of a promising worker in the agro-industrial complex, which was introduced by Kleins and Klein in relation to the future conqueror of outer space. Recently, the agro-industrial complex, along with other spheres, has been actively transforming into the influence of technology. But we are inclined to believe that the agro-industrial workers still remain special characteristics that are unique to representatives of this type of activity. Russian historian Milov, researching the history of Russian peasants, notes that historically agrarian Russia is a special society with a minimum amount of surplus product, in light of which constant hard work is necessary for the survival of both the individual and the whole society. At the same time, the author notes a special way of life inherent in the peasant, which requires an almost constant exertion of strength and special endurance. Drawing a portrait of a peasant of the 20th century, Canadian historian Viola explores the struggle of the Soviet peasantry against collectivization. And he also writes that the firmness and the endurance of the peasantry are the main characteristics of the peasant culture. We must pay attention to the fact that the peasants' endurance and constant work at the limit of their capabilities was fueled by their connection with the field, with the land, which is a sacred space between life and death, a place for testing spiritual and moral foundations. The above considerations may lead to the false idea that the sphere of the agro-industrial complex itself is a very conservative and rigid system, and this is not true. Among the main applied advanced technologies used in the agro-industrial complex for the needs of livestock and crop production, farm management, logistics, and marketing are remote control using satellites, drones, and sensors, tools for collecting and analyzing big data, robotization, Internet of Things. An illustrative example, let's consider production of carbon robotics, which has released a series of farm robots whose function is to destroy weeds without harming the soil. Such a robot, which uses the thermal energy of a laser, can destroy over 100,000 weeds in 1 hour. Such innovations undoubtedly have a serious effect on the activity of the agro-industrial complex even now. What to talk about the future? Note that these tendencies in the agricultural industry are fraught with risks. taking a human out of the brackets, excluding human from the process. And this is largely associated with the primordial roots, the planet, the earth, the production of the most basic, of the food. Realizing that progress can be stopped and the cost of the success of the transformation of the agricultural system is actually the survival of the mankind, we introduce a kind of compromise subject to the rural field, in which all the strong and promising aspects of human and technological nature will merge, an agro-cyborg. Based on the definition of cyborg presented in the Oxford English Dictionary, we propose the following definition. Agro-cyborg is an agricultural worker, a peasant, whose physical capabilities or abilities surpass ordinary human capabilities through the integration of regulatory devices and other technology products that change the vital functions of his body. The combination of a stubborn and enduring person with a traditionalist nature, which is literally a cultural archetype, with an agrobot, which has already successfully established itself in practice, is an interesting perspective, given that in this symbiosis, the common denominator will be the same endurance and hard work that characterize both the peasant and the robot, making a cyborg a construction which has future. So, in this context of the topic we are researching, cyborgization can be viewed as a new level of integration of man with nature, the peasant with the land, and a return to the unity of nature and freedom inherent in ancient culture. Our optimism is based on the forecast of further economic and social development of civilization with the framework of the so-called Industry 5.0. The model being formed today focused on human-centeredness and resilience. To confront global challenges and ensure sustainable development, it is necessary to take into account the social and environmental aspects of development. In this paradigm, the main interests and needs of a person, of human, are the starting point for choosing a route of movement. What is especially important for our study is that the very approach to technology is changing. Instead of requiring an employee to adapt his qualifications in accordance with the needs of technology, within the framework of Industry 5.0, technology itself adapts to human needs. The importance of investing in human capital, in improving the skills and abilities of a person is increasing. Despite the fact that Haraway defines a cyborg as a creature belonging to the cosmic post-gender world, which has no origins, no attachments, no dependencies, our context of an agro-cyborg has a different dimension. We consider it in the context of the fact that all global innovations enter public life not instantly, but with a certain period, during which they are assimilated and humanized. In this context, an agro-cyborg is a figure that combines the achievements of human culture and civilization, allows to preserve and use the values accumulated in the course of civilizational development. And at the same time, the agro-cyborg generates new opportunities due to the achievement of technological progress, in which an important area for the survival and development of human civilization as the agro-industrial complex. Thank you very much for your kind attention.